Today on In the Woodyard, we're talking about chains. When should you change yours? When is it time? Here we go. So a lot of people that I know like to use their chains until they're down to nubs, and that is not a good thing. There is a lifespan of a chain, and a lot of people think it's till it doesn't cut anymore. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but you're wasting time and you're not doing anything good for your saw. You're cutting slower. There is a time when you get down to a certain point, it's time to put a new one on. I know when I put a new chain on, after struggling, because the chain I've been using, I've been trying to get a little bit more life out of it, I'm like, man, I should have changed a while ago. I shouldn't have sharpened the last 2 times probably. In my rule of thumb that I go with, and my brother Ken kind of has told me this, and he worked as a logger for many years, hand cutting. He ran a lot of saws in 3 series in Husqvarna, 372, 395, and he cut a lot of wood for 30 years by hand. He was a hand cutter. Still does some. And he says once you get down to below half, it's time to start thinking about replacing your chain. When you get down to 1/3 of the remaining amount of the chain, it's time. Some people think they cut just fine, and yeah, they cut fine, but they don't cut great. Once you get down to about 2/3 of the chain being gone, or 1/3 left of your tooth, it's time to put a new chain on, because especially if you're cutting with production, or if you want to actually get more life out of your saw and cut as cleanly, as fastly, as nicely as possible, there is a time when you need to change your chain, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you examples. I got all kinds of old chains here. Going to show you things to look for. I got to show you some that are really bad. I'm going to show you the different stages of a tooth, and kind of talk about sharpening, when you should sharpen, how much you should sharpen, rakers, depth gauges, things like that. The main thing I want to show you is what's the right time to change your chain. When should you swap out and put a new chain on? It is a consumable item. It's not something that's going to last forever. So let's talk about it. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got 4 chainsaws. This one on this far left side right here has got a chain that is fairly new. I think I've sharpened it 1 time. This chain right here is probably half wore out, and this one's probably, I would say, about ready to be changed. It needs to be sharpened. I'm going to do that, and then this one is just ridiculous. It's beyond repair. So we're going to show you some close-ups of these right now, because that's the easiest way. I've got a different camera I can use that I can get in really close and show you what the teeth actually look like, the length of them, and kind of go over that. Okay, this first chain, like I said, I've put it on not too long ago. It's been sharpened 1 time. If you look, you can see the rakers have been taken down. There's a little flat spot. If I can get my hand in here. Where am I at? There we are. There's a little flat spot on top of the raker there. You can see that it's been taken down 1 time with a file, and it's been sharpened 1 time. So you can see the length of these teeth are pretty good, because it's pretty dang new. These teeth are pretty much full size. Now the one right next to it, right here, these are about halfway wore down. Maybe not quite, but close. So it's still got a couple sharpenings left in it. The teeth are long enough that it's still cutting pretty good. But then the next one, I'm going to go along here. The next one is good for maybe 1 more sharpening, because you're down to about 1/3 of the tooth left here. If you can see, the original tooth length would have been about out to where my thumb is there. So that's how much is gone. And you can see, I mean, it needs to be sharpened, but the length of these teeth are getting down there now. They're not exactly what they should be. So it's not cutting quite as good as it used to. Now this next one is just ridiculous. This is our little 540 Husqvarna that we have. Look at the size of it. It's just a little nub. Now the reason they're down so far is that we only had 1 chain with this. We only got 1 chain when we got this. Right here, a tooth actually broke off. Look at that. Where'd it go? There it is. Right there, tooth actually is gone. Because they're so small, they get brittle and they just snap off. So we sharpen this. The witness mark on this particular tooth is right there, right at the length of it. So if you get to that line in the back, it's called the witness line, and what that is it gives you the right angle of what you need to sharpen your teeth at. And if you get close to that, you need to change your chain.
If you're within like a 1/16 of an inch, it's time to change the chain. So I'm going to show you what a chain looks like that is brand new that's going to go on this. We're going to pull it out right now. So there's the one that's just about ready to be changed. We'll sharpen it one more time. And then the one back here is the one that's about halfway wore out. And then right here is the brand new chain. So you can see the length of those. So if you see here, this is the chain that we're going to put on. This is the one that was on there. Look at that little nub. And once they get to be past that witness line or even touching the witness line, you're going to break teeth off real easily because there's just not much there even holding it. And the length is just amazing, the difference. And like I mentioned before, if this is a brand new one, once you get down to where you're getting close to that witness line, it's time to change the chain. So about 2/3 is kind of the amount that I think is what you have for a good usable chain. And yes, you can save the old chains if you got to cut a stump, or if you know you're going to be hitting rocks or wire and you don't want to use a brand new chain, then you can swap them out. But you just don't cut as good with a chain that's wore down that much. So once you get down to where you're getting within a 1/16 of an inch of that witness line, it's pretty much time to change the chain so you can actually get some work done. Okay, so here I got an example of 3 chains that were taken off of saws that we had. And as you can see, they probably could get one more sharpening out of these. And if we sharpened them, they would cut okay. And for cutting a stump, they would be just fine. But they're all getting right down there. They're probably 2/3 of the way gone. Maybe not quite, but close. And I do know that when I took these chains off the chainsaw, because I hang them in a specific spot because I'm going to be using them maybe for a stump or something. And sometimes I sell them to guys that want to buy them and then you get some more life out of them, and that's fine if that's what they want. But I know when I changed the chain, swap these out, the saw cut like not, I wouldn't say 50% faster, but like 20-30% faster. So if you're cutting all day long, you're going to gain production by 20-30% just by having a newer chain on, or a sharp chain, or a chain that's cutting really well. So these are not great chains, but like I said, they're not terrible. Some of the teeth are a little longer, some are a little shorter. But yeah, you can see there. See, like this one right here, I can get my finger in, there it is. This one right here is short. This one right here is not terrible. You could get one more, but there's enough short ones in there. Like here's a pretty good long one right there. That's not terrible. But if it starts to be questionable, if you notice you're fighting the saw, put a new chain on and be happy. Just do it. So there you go. There's some old ones. And again, these would be ones we'll save for like if we got to cut a stump, or if we know there's rocks, or say we're cutting on a fence line on a farm or something like that. We know that there's a really good chance of hitting barbed wire. This is the kind of chain we put in. Put in one of these. So if you hit it, you don't go, oh my gosh, I got to sharpen. You just go, oh, I'll just keep cutting and just force it through and get it done. Or sharpen it up and cut some more because you're probably going to hit more wire. These are the ones we use for doing that.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little 540 with an old chain that is down to nubs. I mean, there's just barely any chain there. It's right to the witness marks, and some of the teeth are even beyond that. So we're going to cut a few cuts with this to show you how slow it is, and I'm going to put on a brand new chain. I just took this out of the box. It's brand new, never been sharpened, nothing's been done to it. And we're going to show you the time difference on a new chain versus an old piece of crap, wore out, little bitty nub chain. And this is a little saw, so the difference is probably going to be dramatic, but the whole idea of this is to show you that when you're cutting, if your teeth are getting worn down to where you're at the witness marks or even close to it, how much slower your saw will cut. So unless you've got a lot of extra time in your life that you're not afraid to waste, use a good chain. Don't be afraid to swap out a consumable, expendable item. When the chains get down there, past 2/3 gone, it's time to change them. So here we go. We're going to start it up, and hopefully this thing will still cut. I know it cuts because I just cut with it not long ago, and then I touched it up, so it is sharp. So the teeth are sharp, but they're just little bitty nubs. There's going to be a big difference you're going to see here, I think. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to do another run because the saw wasn't really warmed up. I started warmed it a little bit, but I could tell it was a little hesitant. So we're going to do 3 more cuts. We'll time this one out now that I know what the saw is warmed up. Okay, slow, very slow. That was painful, painfully slow. And I was pushing as hard as the saw would let me because the teeth suck. I could feel it wasn't cutting. It was like, and I can see by the size of the chips they're small. So hopefully you'll see a big difference in the time now when we swap out for the new chain. Now this is a little saw, so a sharp chain, it's gonna have a harder time pulling it than these little bitty nubs, but the nubs weren't cutting anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So there's that better. So we're gonna change out the chain now, and I'll show you the difference, and then we'll do some more cutting. Okay, so here's the new chain, and we're gonna swap out the old chain. I'll show you, I'll try to get as close as I can with this camera to show you the difference in the tooth length, because it's amazingly more teeth, or more tooth I should say. So it should cut a lot better. And if it doesn't, I'd be very surprised. Let go. Yeah, this chain is still sharp, but it's just nubs, I tell you. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see the difference there, but you see the difference between, this is the new one, this is the old one. Hopefully you guys can see that. Big difference in the length of the teeth. I'll show you another spot. I mean, it's just down to nubs if you compare these two. And it's the same exact chain. It's a Husqvarna 93, I think is what it is, what this takes. So we're gonna put this one on now. So first thing I always do is I look to make sure I'm putting it on the right way, because I have put chains on the wrong way. It only takes once, maybe twice if you're dumb like me, and you figure it out. And this is gonna be a tighter chain, so hopefully I can get this on. I'm not a fan of this one nut cover either. I like 2, because you really, I know there's not a lot of tension like a big saw, but still I just don't like the one bolt and nut. I would rather have 2, and I'd rather have double dogs than single dogs. There's a lot of things I'd like to have, but not gonna get. So I like to get it just a little bit snug and then tighten it up. And tighten the chain and then tighten it again. So, and this has got like a, it only goes so tight, and it's got like a skip, and it won't go any tighter. So I think I'm at it there. There we go. It was good. I always do this because I like to make sure it's on the sprocket in the back. Tension wise, we're a little tight, but it's going to loosen up. So here we go. Let's go do some more cutting. All right, so we got the new chain on, and we're going to start her up, and we're going to do some cutting.
Faster. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. Here we go. One more cut. That's the way it's supposed to work. It felt way better. Better teeth. There we go. So hopefully that will be dramatic enough for you guys to understand why you need to change your chain sooner than you think. Now, I looked at the footage just now after I got done cutting, and the very first cut that I did with the dull wore out chain was almost 50 seconds from what I could see, just a rough. I'm not sure. I'll put it on the screen as close as I can down to the half a second or tenth of a second, but I think it was right around 50 seconds. The second one I did was a little over 40 seconds with the dull wore out chain. And then I looked at the ones with the new chain, and it was right around 20 seconds both times. 19, 20, 21, right in there. Twice as fast. Twice. Twice as fast. Did I say that? Yes, twice as fast. So that's a big difference. If you're cutting a lot of wood, use a good chain. If your chain starts to get to where it's wore down, past halfway, 2/3, you're wasting time. Chains are not that expensive. I buy my chains by the dozen. For my big saws, for my 572, my 592, the saws that I'm running the 24-inch chains on, if you go to a retailer, you're going to pay $25 to $30 something, $30 somewhere in there. You might pay $35. I don't know the exact numbers. I buy chains when I go to logging shows by the dozen, and a lot of times you can buy individual ones for the same price. $16, $17, $18. It's half as much. So when I go, I'll buy a dozen chains at a time. That's why, to me, it's not worth it to try to get a little more life out of my chain. If my chain is getting down there to where it's costing me time, and time is the most valuable thing I have in my life because I'm getting old, I'm almost 100 years old now, I'm close to death, I don't have a lot left, I don't want to waste it. I want to take advantage of my time as much as I can doing the things I like to do. I like cutting, but I don't like making it twice as long as it has to be. I like to actually accomplish stuff. But, you know, if you're a guy that's extremely frugal and you want to get as much as you can out of your stuff, I guess you can use your chain until you're down to nubs. The thing about it also, you don't realize, it's a lot harder on your saw. You're running it twice as long and you're pushing harder. The saw's working harder. Put a new chain on. That's all I got for today, folks. Tomorrow morning, I will be back with another video for you. Right now, you're going to go watch all the other videos on my channel because it's the best thing you can do with your time. Even the Pope says so. Good night, Irene.